I'm returning AIPAC donations and refusing to accept any donations or support from them. The FEC filing I made yesterday reflects that we are returning donations. I am cautiously optimistic that the recent breakthrough in Gaza will move us closer to ending the horrific violence in the region. A political solution or political resolution that allows Israelis and Palestinians to live side by side in peace is exactly the kind of framework I've been calling for from the beginning. I support Israel's right to exist, but I've also never been afraid to disagree openly with AIPAC when I believe they're wrong. In recent years, AIPAC has aligned itself too closely with Netanyahu's government. I'm a friend of Israel, but not of its current government, and AIPAC's mission today is to back that government. I don't support that direction, which is why I've decided to return the donations I've received and will not be accepting their support. I mean, it's good. It's good. Unfortunately, this is just the J Street path, right? I mean, at the end of the day, apartheid is apartheid. But if AIPAC is reaching a point of toxicity where even people like this are dropping it, that's still good. That's still good in the long run. It's a good sign. Yeah, unfortunately, like it's hardly the final fight though, right? Like, hasn't Cory Booker always been more of a J Street guy, not an AIPAC guy? AIPAC's response, they've been crashing out for about 2 days. Rep. Seth Moulton is abandoning his friends to grab a headline, capitulating to the extremes rather than standing on conviction. His statement comes after years of him repeatedly asking for our endorsement and is a clear message to AIPAC members in Massachusetts. AIPAC, AIPAC, AIPAC. Why would you admit that the tide is turning on you? Why would you? You're acknowledging here, yeah, even your most ardent supporters are turning their backs on you. You're making it more apparent that this is a big blow to your viability within the Democrats. A clear message to AIPAC members in Massachusetts and millions of pro-Israel Democrats nationwide that he rejects their support and will not stand with them. AIPAC and our 5 million members are U.S. citizens who support a strong U.S.-Israel alliance. Our mission is to promote policies that strengthen this critical partnership, that advance America's interests, blah, blah, blah. 2,000 comments, 2,000 likes. Very good. Not that anyone really likes AIPAC. Does blocking an account mean that it won't show you? I thought you could look at stuff when you'd blocked their... What is this? Why doesn't Twitter work? I know why Twitter doesn't work. I'm aware that Twitter doesn't work. I wish that it did work. Because thank you, Elon. What is this? That there is some HTML? Yep. And I get out of that before it bugs out further and shows me some weird shit. To be fair to Cory Booker, none of his donations are directly from AIPAC. No, that's what I mean, like J Street stuff. Like, Cory Booker is a huge Zionist, but he hasn't been AIPAC affiliated. That's one of the reasons why the AIPAC tracker account, this one, you all know and love him, doesn't just list how much money a person has gotten from AIPAC, but from AIPAC-affiliated donors and organizations. In a sense, like, AIPAC isn't represented. The interests that AIPAC represents are not contained entirely within AIPAC, because it's like a broader using Zionism as a front for the military-industrial complex kind of thing. There's a whole swath of people and organizations that that fall within it. Basically, any organization that promotes U.S.-Israeli relations is going to, in some way, shape, or form, run up the same, problems. Yeah, Zach, I did. That being said, it is good that AIPAC is getting such a toxic reputation. I won't complain. I won't complain. Popular decision, too. Insane that in spite of this environment, this political environment, so many Democrats still don't see the writing on the wall. I maintain my position that the midterms 2026 and the next presidential, it's going to come down to Israel, man. Because again, if you can't draw the line on genocide, how are you going to draw the line on democracy? It's not about whether or not you think the genocide of Palestinians is more important than any domestic issue going on in America. It's not about like relative weighted domestic or geopolitical conflicts. It's not about what you think the most important issue to you as a voter is. This is the most obvious litmus test. It's the clearest line in the sand. And consistently, time and time again, support for Israel has been correlated with a bunch of negative domestic policy support too. Like, the more ardently pro-Israel you are, the more generally awful you are. Like, it's just a really good litmus test. And if you're the kind of Democrat who just can't drop that line, you're probably not capable of wresting this country free from the death spiral that it's in. Like Newsom. Remember that Newsom clip? Where he was on his podcast And somebody else, the guy he was talking to, said, "Yeah, I'm just not voting for anyone who's got AIPAC support." And Newsom was like, "AIPAC, AIPAC, what's AIPAC? I don't know. That's interesting. That's crazy." You would say, "I've never even heard of these AIPAC guys. What? I just am very fascinated. I don't think anyone talks about them, but you sound crazy, you know." And it's like, Jesus fuck, like goddamn specters looming in these people's heads like a shadow. The Pac-Man special. Yeah. APAC, IPAC, EPAC. Don't even know how to pronounce them. A pack of what? Yeah. What was that video we saw recently with that J Street guy who was advocating for his his lobbying block? I bet they're loving this. Was it Mehdi Hassan? I think it was Mehdi Hassan. Yeah, it was. J Street just doesn't have the presence that APAC does, though. Unfortunately, I worry about, I worry about their association turning out to be just as toxic. Inevitably, Netanyahu will be removed from power in Israel. He's not popular there, and somebody else will take the reins, and that person might be at least nominally more moderate on Palestinians. And I just worry about us falling down this cycle again, where now all the J Street people are talking about how, Israel's our greatest ally in the Middle East, and we must give everything to defend them, and blah 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 blah. J Street is more liberal than AIPAC, yes, Shaky09, but they are still Zionist. And unfortunately, the problem here underlying everything is the Zionism. The idea that there is something right or that is necessary for there to be a Jewish ethno-state in the Middle East, that is the fundamental problem. You can be as moderate as you want about it, but ethno-states are innately genocidal in this modern world, where everyone is everywhere, and you can't just like form a border around a pre-existing monolithic ethnic group. They're also cringe. Yeah, well, that's also true. Trying to find, I saw what looked like a chunk out of a broader podcast. I'm trying to find it right now, and I'm not succeeding. I don't have anything to go off of in my head. Today. One thing that does really piss me off, though, is that so many of the people who talk about AIPAC are just freaks and anti-Semites. Look up AIPAC. Right now, I just did. AIPAC past 24 hours, okay, on YouTube. And the number one result, right at there on top, Code Pink. Jesus. Glenn Greenwald. Revolutionary Blackout. Why? What is Code Pink? Oh, forget about it. Jesus. Never mind. Don't you worry your pretty little head about it. There's been an insane rise of anti-Semitic videos on TikTok and Instagram. I've seen Nick Fuentes videos with 200K plus likes, and all the comments are juice emojis. Yeah, and you know what? All of the Israel supporters put us here. I'm not going to invalidate or like negate the autonomy or the agency of the Nazis, but this was the obvious consequence of every single Western leader falling to their knees and dying on the sword over Israel, and enabling and empowering every anti-Semitic conspiracy out there, all in the game. Every cynical attack, every "we can't have good things here because we need to promote bad things in Israel," all the obvious lies. This was an inevitable consequence. Jesus Christ. The most pervasive conspiracy theory about Jewish people is like the myth of total pervasive control of the West. And you are really, 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 really not helping that by, again, it's this bizarre suicide pact that all of our leaders made with Israel. Of course, not really with Israel or with Jewish people, but the MIC and so on. But you've heard me ramble about that before. Yeah, at the end of the day, they are the ones who conflated Israel with Judaism, okay? These are the same people who called like a Jewish Voice for Peace anti-Semitic and bad Jews for criticizing Israel, all right? This is not on the left. There are some dumbass lefties who will look at a clip from Fuentes or Candace Owens or whatever, or MTG, and be like, whoa, they're getting based. There are idiots who do that. I acknowledge that. But I think that, like, if we take a look at the weight of this trend, overwhelmingly it was fed into by astonishingly anti-Semitic behavior from the powers that be, from the Democrats, the Republicans, in enabling these conspiracies. It's because evangelicals want revelation. Yeah, and now it's because everyone wants a scapegoat. Now, to a lot of these people, like to people like Nick Fuentes or Candace Owens, the Jews get to be, to them and to their followers, what the Jews were to Hitler in the 30s, which was an easy scapegoat that you can use, a permanent threat on the horizon that justifies any act of barbarism. Everything bad in your life is because of them, like a, all-purpose scapegoat, so you don't have to worry about or deal with any of the nuances or technicalities of governance, and then you just run everything into the ground. We're going right back to the same damn pointers, man. And all the people, all of your Schumers and Cory Bookers and Gavin Newsoms and so on, let us hear directly because they could have provided a clear, steady, resonant voice. The lady we listened to, that, what's her name? You guys said her podcast is based, and I liked her, was saying this directly to Cory Booker. By being so ardently pro-Israel, when it's insanely immoral to do so, you're making it so the only clear anti-Israel voice, a voice which is desperately needed, is being met with anti-Semites like Marjorie Taylor Greene and Candace Owens. And she was completely correct in saying that. I haven't seen Matt Bernstein's podcast work, so I can't really say. I'm sure he's done, I know enough of him to assume he's done a good job. If the 2028 election is Ben Gavir's best friend saying Israel's our greatest ally versus Mecha Hitler Grok, who would you vote for? Is Mecha Hitler Grok still the anime girl that looks like the goth lady from Death Note? Because if so, her. Yes? Okay. Well, then there you go. Laura Loomer tried to flirt with a guy in a club, but she said a lot of racist, fucked up stuff. Is that newsworthy? Laura Loomer's a Nazi. Of course she would. Yeah. Did you just link E-Bombs World in my chat? Oh my god. Okay. Put the shovels down. Stop digging. Holy shit. That domain still exists. Next up, a Newgrounds link. Is Newgrounds not still, like, goated? Didn't the Newgrounds leadership put out some pretty good statements with regard to AI use and the UK privacy law stuff, the UK age restriction law. Like they seem they still have like a pretty good level-headed leadership bit. Yeah, they did good with the age verification stuff. Isn't it still part of the old internet? I'm just saying that I have fond memories of Newgrounds from when I was a kid, and I'm pretty sure that the website and the creative intentions with which it was founded are still going strong. Old internet? No, that is old internet, because nowadays people only use social media sites. That's literally the only thing anyone uses the internet for anymore. Nobody goes to like specific websites for a specific purpose. Newgrounds, of course, is also a social media site, but most of the time nowadays people are like, well, where am I going to get my cool animations? From Instagram, or follow people on Twitter or whatever. Rip college humor. Yeah, those were the days back when the internet had a bunch of websites in it.